Welcome back to Tuesday Tutorials. Last time we showed you how to create this disintegration effect. This week we're going to be showing how we made this energy battlefield scene from our Infinity Pack promo trailer using After Effects and Element 3D. We'll have links in the notes below for stock and 3D models that we used for this effect. So to begin, we will create the main battlefield using Element 3D. For the ground, we used this model from Turbo Squid and duplicated, rotated, and repositioned it to expand the scene. Then we applied a ground texture. You can increase or decrease the Y scale to control the terrain depth. We'll then use these Rubble Models with a concrete texture applied and place them in random areas, creating a kind of border. And adding part of a skeleton can help that doomsday feel. Next, we're going to create a new element group on group 2 and drop in random bits of branches or stones. In After Effects, create a camera, and for our shot, we just want a simple keyframe animation of the camera pushing forward and tilting up. We're going to enable ambient occlusion and boost the intensity. Now, we want to multiply and scatter the sticks and stones to cover a large area. And to help show it better, we hid group 1 for now. In group 2 tab, increase the particle count to high. These settings don't need to be exact. We just want to randomize this debris. Increase the shape scale, bring the Z position closer to us, and you can tweak the Y rotation. Enable multi-object and increase the size random. X and Z displace, X and Z scatter, and noise amount. You can also change the random seed until you find a layout that you like. To add the mystery feel, we'll keyframe rotation, random, and Y displace, then at the end of the timeline, increase them both to have the sticks and stones floating off the ground over time. With group 1 visible, again, it's time to light, and lighting is one of the most important steps and can really help get the most out of your shots with Element 3D. For this scene, overall, it will be pretty dark with that ball of energy being the main source of light. So using multiple point and spotlights, each tinted slightly green, since that will be the color of our energy, and we just went by eye here where best to place the lights, but mainly just trying to get that edge light on our 3D models until we end up with this. We're also going to enable Element 3D fog with a dark green tint, have it start quite far back, and lower the opacity so it's subtle. At this point, we enable motion blur and render this scene out with alpha to speed up preview time, as well as rendering a version of just the front debris. Drop the main render into a new comp and copy over the camera for the Element 3D comp. Drop a sky texture below, make it a 3D layer, push it back and change the color if needed. Next, we'll add some mountains from a stock photo, mask them out and tweak the brightness and color. Then we use some 3D adjustment layers below the mountains to darken and brighten parts of the sky, as well as an orangey colored adjustment layer that we masked and feathered to look like a distant flame haze behind the mountains. We also used a Foggy Mountain texture above the mountain, set it to screen to add some depth, and duplicated that with the mask, tweaked, and an orange color again for more fire haze. We then used more mask adjustment layers to darken some areas. To help give it more of a desolate wasteland vibe, you can add some tree images as 3D layers and place them throughout the scene. These were just some images that we rendered of 3D trees in Element 3D. Now to create the fire, you can use any stock footage you'd like, but we wanted to use the Infinity assets to create a stylistic fire. Our Infinity pack has over 400 assets of energy, smoke, embers, and more, and this Spirit Flame energy asset can work nicely for fires. So using the asset Spirit Flame 4 will boost the brightness, then use color vibrance with an orange color and tweak the values to give it a fiery look. Now just set the layer to screen, make it 3D, and choose its placement below the Element 3D render. Then duplicate and move a couple times, then slide the assets in the timeline to give them all different timings from each other. We then did the same with the smoke plume asset set to screen, making it orange and positioning it over each flame. Then did the same using asset Fire Embers 7, placing over each fire and smoke. Lastly, we changed the fire and smoke asset speeds to 200 to slow them down, and we enabled frame blending. Now for the energy orb, we will create a new comp and make it a square. We'll be using the assets Orb 1, Chaotic 2, and Halo Energy 2. Drop them all into the new comp and set them to screen. We slowed down Halo Energy 2 slightly to match the other speeds and lowered the brightness of it and Orbit 1. Now drop this energy comp into the main scene and set it to screen, make it 3D and reposition it, and then we'll use that color vibrance plugin again to color it. If you want to use this as a displacement map, you'll need to duplicate the camera, then pre-compose the camera and energy together. This is needed for the effect to understand the position of a 3D layer used as a map. Set it to screen again, then create an adjustment layer below. There are a lot of displacement effects that you can use, but one that we really love is Red Giant's chromatic displacement, which can displace inwards and outwards outwards rather than just in the X and Y, as well as adding chromatic aberration. But you can also add a compound blur for more effect, and this is what it now looks like below the energy layer. For the ground, we use the shockwave pulses assets below the energy to look like the force was blowing over the ground. Also, Spirit Flame 15 works nicely over the ground to look like smoke flowing in the wind. You can use that element render we did earlier of just the front rubble as an alpha inverted matte to have these smoke layers appear behind the debris. Then we added in our Smoke Full Screen 1 asset and a couple of our Full Screen Ember assets as 3D layers and set those to screen as well. To make dark ashes, we used Full Frame Embers 6 and 7, which have nice thick chunky embers. Use the Unmolt effect to first remove the black background. If you don't have Unmolt, you should have this After Effects preset, which does the exact same thing. Then use Tint and choose a dark color. If you add a Curves effect first and boost or lower the brightness, that will control how visible the ash is. So now we have a scene full of fire, smoke, embers, and energy. For the final touches, we used a light as an emitter positioned where the energy ball is, with a few layers of optical flares and Red Giant's Null Light Factory to create some lens flares. Then some subtle glow and shine, some real lens stock footage tinted to match the energy color, and finally a color grade using our Conjuring LUT from our Cinematic LUTs V1 pack with boosted saturation. And in the end, we have this. And obviously, these techniques can be used in a variety of ways. We also made this alternative version, which was the same scene setup. We just swapped out the energy for fire and added some embers and smoke assets to fill the scene. Then a warm color grade and some camera shake. Hopefully you find these tips helpful and can apply them to a variety of different shots and projects. Definitely check out the links in the notes below for links to everything that we used in this episode. And check out the last episode we put out of Tuesday Tutorials where we show how to do a disintegration effect. Next time we're going to be showing you how to do these cool dripping lava effects. So until then, don't forget to write, shoot, edit, repeat.